Go.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jaime. I'm here with my friend Two Bear, Ruben Martinez, and Saul Romo. We're at the museum at Palo Alto Battlefield in Brownville. And we're going to start off with a song that was popular with Mexican soldiers back in 1846 during the first battle, which was here at Palo Alto, May 8th. So here we go, guys. Mientras tenga licor las botellas, hagamos con ellas más dulce vivir, recordando que tal vez mañana clarín de campaña nos llame a morir. Mientras tenga licor las botellas, debemos de ellas hasta emborrachar, recordando que tal vez mañana clarín de campaña nos llame a pelear. Okay, that's just the first two stanzas of that song. It's called Clarín de Campaña, which could mean trumpet of war or clarinet, not clarinet, but bugle of war. So my presentation will be today about the Mexican soldier, what he faced as he was coming up here to fight here at Palo Alto. Now, the Mexican soldier, el soldado mexicano, the average soldado was a draftee. Mexico used a conscription as a principal means of recruitment. A ladder was conducted every October to draw recruits. There was a long list of professions which excluded many from the draft. A substitute system also existed for those who could afford to hire a replacement. Of course, you'll see in my later lecture that most of the ones that were recruiting the Army were poor, could not afford a substitute. Conscripts served for 10 years and volunteers for 8. They were paid 15 pesos a month, from which clothing and food allowances were drawn. In the mid-1800s, soldados were between 5'4" and 5'8". My friend here is about the perfect size, and they weighed about 130 pounds. Most soldados had Indian blood. These Indians were used as laborers under the Spanish, and that didn't change even after Mexico gained its independence. Many did not speak Spanish, had little or no conception of nationality, and no interest whatsoever in maintaining an order of things in which they figured only as beasts of burden. Mexico soldiers' training was rudimentary, to say the least. They were often not paid and also not fed. There were several rebellions in the Mexican Army on the way up here from Central Mexico because of that. These rebellions were put down, but the root cause of discontent lingered. Supplies were woefully inadequate, with stocks of weapons and ammunition, as well as food, being low. A Mexican newspaper at the time called the Monitor Republicano wrote sarcastically, "This is the army that is destined to raise the tricolors over the Sabine." He's referring to the Sabine River, which is the border between Louisiana and Texas, for some of my viewers that are not familiar with this, Sabine. The officer corps. The officers saw the army as a way of advancement and the soldiers as tools for that advancement. The officer corps came from Mexico's political elite, but they also had professional soldiers from Europe. The officer corps was disproportionate to the rank and file, with 24,000 officers compared to 20,000 enlisted men in 1847. Many officers were political chieftains, and their subordinates were neither well-trained nor well-disciplined. One British officer found them totally ignorant of their duty. When the U.S. Army went into Matamoros after the Battle of Palo Alto and Resaca de la Palma, the editor for a newspaper, Richmond Whig, wrote that Mexican soldiers ought not be called soldiers, not having the equipment, the discipline, or the moral force of well-organized troops. In 1833, Mexico established a military academy, but it provided only 100 cadets every 3 years. There were at least 2 Germans in the officer corps, Adrian Wohl and Juan Holzinger. There was 1 Swiss officer, Jean de la Die, and at least 1 American citizen, John Davis Bradburn. But to make matters worse, in my first video, Republic of the Rio Grande, I mentioned an officer named Antonio Canales. He was a general by this time. He was the commander of the forces of the Republic of the Rio Grande during that uprising. This Mexican, Antonio Canales, conspired with General Zachary Taylor. He offered Taylor to cede Mexican land if he got his objective of creating the Republic of the Rio Grande. So he was still with that idea. Weapons. Mexicans carried the brown vest, which my companions here are carrying. They were first manufactured in 1797. It was the British India pattern smoothbore musket, better known as the brown vest. Now I've found 3 reasons why they call it the brown vest. First, that it was slang at the time for a mistress, a prostitute, or a lowly woman. Second, that it was named after Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth I, who was known as Bess. Third, that it was the German word Buske, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, meaning musket, and the brown from the color of the finish on the wood. It weighed about 10 pounds and used a paper cartridge and carried an 18-inch socket bayonet, which my friend will put on his musket now. It had an effective range of up to 100 yards. Most soldados fired first when they first came into battle. The reason being, because they couldn't practice because there was a shortage of ammunition. Mexican gunpowder was much more inferior compared to the gunpowder used by the US. Mexican gunpowder contained too much sulfur and charcoal. Because the powder was poor quality, Mexican cartridges were often overcharged, making firing uncomfortable. So the Mexican soldado would often fire from the hip, put it at your hip, and away from your hip, to reduce the discomfort. Of course, you can't hit anything with that. Using this powder made the artillery rounds fall short of their intended target. We have reports that American troops here at the Battle of Palo Alto would see a Mexican cannonball hit in front of them, roll towards him, and all they had to do was step out of the way and let the cannonball pass. Mexican artillery was European imports, old, heavy, hard to maneuver and transport. Mexican cavalry, our friend Romo here, is dressed as a heavy cuirassier. What's it called in Spanish?
Coracero de Tulancingo. Estoy representando al coronel Anastasio Torrejón, que fue el primer cuerpo del ejército de la línea en mayo de 1846 en Rancho Carrecitos.
Which is porque Rancho Carrecitos is about 25 miles upriver. It's where American blood was shed on American soil. That was on my second video. He is heavy cavalry, cuirassier, Tulancingo. Okay, now the Mexican cavalry was considered one of the best part of their army, but they were light, small men on small horses. Mexican successes in the cavalry were due partly because of capable commanders such as Eusebio Rea, which became famous during the Texas War of Independence, and Anastasio Torrejon, portrayed here by my friend. Uniforms. We already covered his. The Mexican army evoked Napoleonic dress. Soldados wore a wool tailcoat, show them too big, cut at the waist with wool pants. Now we're here in the RGV of South Texas and it is extremely hot. So we're wearing our wool coat, but not our wool pants. Brogans, or shoes, were issued to many. These are brogans. He's got boots on, cavalry, and he's got brogans. Unfortunately for the soldados, they didn't have enough, but a lot of them preferred to wear sandals or go barefoot. Medical care. Aside from the wounds received on the battlefield, the soldado, as most soldiers at the time, suffered from a variety of illnesses brought on by bad hygiene, bad water, spoiled rations. Rations. The Mexican Army rations consisted of hardtack, totopos, which are chips, and a little meat. But they did carry this, piloncillo. It is unrefined brown sugar. You can eat it just like that, add it to sweeten flavors, add flavor to your food, and other things. So they did have this. Now this wasn't found at some archaeological dig. The only place I could find it was my local grocery store. Because food was in so short supply, soldados lived to learn to live off the land. They confiscated foodstuffs from farms or haciendas and towns in their line of march. In short, the Mexican soldado was ill-prepared, ill-equipped, and ill-fed. Santa Anna, 10 years before, was quoted as saying, "What are the lives of soldados more than of so many chickens?" Camp followers, known in Spanish as soldaderas. Where the government failed, the soldadera or camp follower helped as nurses, supplemented rations. These camp followers were made up of wives, children, sweethearts, ladies of ill repute, settlers, and others. Soldaderas secured clothing, extra rations, mended, cleaned equipment, and prepared meals. Now this statement that I'm going to end with has been disputed, but it was reported in the 60s that archaeological evidence at the burial trench at Resaca de la Palma, which was the second battle of this war. This was May 8th, down the road about 7 miles at Resaca de la Palma. It was May 9th. They indicate a number of female remains mixed among the soldados. Okay, my next video, I know I said the last time that I was going to do Palo Alto, but I felt I had to cover this just to see if you can see what Mexican soldiers were up against. The next one will be about Resaca de la Palma. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, subscribe. Thank you very much.